If you have a serious addiction problem, you probably have a serious mental health problem as well. Figures released to the BBC show a very dramatic link between those two. In fact, over 70% of those in treatment for alcohol or opiate addictions are affected by mental ill health. That's according to the country's largest recovery organisation. An independent report on drugs suggests that understanding the link between drug abuse and mental illness can in fact improve treatment. But of course, mental health services have been just struggling to keep up with demand. Now, Jeremy Cook has been looking at mental health and drug addiction and has been given access to an innovative new approach. It's a cafe which is also serving as an alternative to A&E for those in mental health crisis.
How have you been?
Up and down, I'm using too much heroin.
I'm meeting Tony in his flat in Birkenhead. He's 58 and he's been on heroin for more than 3 decades. I'm going to spend the best part of a year getting to know him.
This is me mode. It's one of my favourite keyboards.
It's a bit retro, Tony, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yes, Tony is an addict, but he's also a musician, a photographer, a science geek.
What they mean when they say positrons travel backwards through time, because of
What would you like people to understand about you, folks like you?
We feel love and hate just like everybody else. Most drug addicts have a reason that they're addicted.
For many addicts, that reason is mental illness.
I look at it like I'm self-medicating rather than just getting high. It just helps me to cope.
Tony lives with chronic schizophrenia, brought on in his early 20s, triggered by the deaths of both of his parents. How much time do you spend in this flat alone?
All the time. Asleep on my own. I wake up alone. That's one of the reasons that I buy the drugs. They just help you to get through being on your own.
Alone, apart from his budgies. But Tony is also plugged into a huge support network here in Birkenhead. His key worker, John Harrison, works for the Wirral Ways Recovery Service. He's been with him for 6 years and helps him access the spectrum of recovery services. John knows Tony well.
I'd like him to get involved in groups to occupy his time. It takes him a lot to trust people. In that aspect, we're still working quite hard. Heroin, it's his answer to everything at the minute.
In a major report commissioned by the government, Dame Carol Black says that addiction must be treated as a chronic illness. We've told her about the innovations here in Birkenhead, and now she's come to see for herself how the spectrum of services are coordinating and working together to become what they call a recovery village.
One of my biggest concerns, can we get enough mental health support into services for drug-dependent people? It's a real challenge. I think it's crucial.
As soon as we get him out, it's going to start raining again, you know that, don't
Probably
you?
will, won't it?
A summer afternoon, and I'm back with Tony. He's showing off his photos on the streets in the shopping centre.
You're a good man, I mean that. Thank you.
Some people are nice,
Take care.
but not everyone.
I get called chunky and crackhead and all that. What can you say? Because it's true, I am.
Tony's back in the flat, playing keyboards. Does this help you?
Oh, most definitely,
Mental health and all that.
Most definitely, yeah.
He's often on good form when we meet, but when he's lonely and down, he sends emails. Tony,
Go and read my...
I'm looking forward to dying.
Yeah, God, please.
You say, someone will find me. I can't put my neighbours through the ordeal of seeing a dead body, so I can't even end myself without doing harm to others.
That's right.
I'm going to bed now. I cannot stop crying.
Yeah, I remember. I'm mentally ill, and that's a fact. I'm good at looking normal and being normal, but at the base level, I struggle to hang on to reality sometimes.
Tony's not alone in his struggles. In Birkenhead, they've realised that most of the people being treated for addiction also have mental health problems. So they came up with this. Companeros looks like a newly opened coffee bar, and it is.
You like a cartoon, right?
Do loads like me, don't you? You do amazing.
But this place is also effectively an A&E for anyone who says they're in mental health crisis. It's NHS funded with trained staff. The idea is to offer immediate help and support to people like Rob. 300 cases and rising.
I'm so proud to be managing a service like this. People can go and feel safe and be heard. And I just wish that they were all over the country, to be honest.
Spring now, and I'm hoping for an update on Tony's progress. but he has got other things on his mind. Tony, you got a cup of tea, bit of cake, and some heroin.
And some heroin.
Not the average afternoon break.
No, not at all. Give me a moment.
Tony is openly smoking heroin. It's not what I expected.
To me, it's a means to an end.
Which is?
Getting my brain where it needs to be, peaceful and undisturbed by all thoughts of trouble and schizophrenia.
For every addict in recovery, the measure of success will be different. Yes, Tony's still on drugs, but he's getting the support he needs. And he still hopes that one day he will be heroin-free.
Jeremy Cook reporting there. 14 minutes to 6 now. We'll have a last look at the headlines. Here's Tina.
The Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has confirmed the government plans to introduce new legislation in the coming weeks to change trade rules applying to Northern Ireland since Brexit. Boris Johnson said it was important to revise the deal, but the European Commission has criticised the plans. There are reports that more Ukrainian fighters have been seen leaving the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol in buses, escorted by pro-Russian forces. And the Conservative Whip's office has said a Tory MP has been asked to stay away from Parliament. It follows reports that an unnamed MP has been arrested on suspicion of rape.
Tina, thank you for that. And that story on an unnamed MP apparently being arrested on suspicion of rape. Very little else we can say about that at this point. That's all we have is the Whip's office saying he has been asked to stay away until the conclusion of the investigation. Will not be commenting further, is all we have. Now, France got a new Prime Minister yesterday. She is Elisabeth Borne, the second woman as Prime Minister. You may remember Edith Cresson was the first back in 1991. The new appointment, though, has demonstrated that in terms of sex and gender, things have moved since the 1990s. In French, as many of us learned at school, the language is totally gendered. Everything is either masculine or feminine, le or la. Professions will typically have a male and female form, like actor or actress in English. You can in French be docteur or doctoresse, depending on whether you're a man or woman doctor. When Edith Cresson was Prime Minister, she was given the masculine form, le Premier Ministre. Yesterday, though, Elisabeth Borne was given the feminine, la.
Madame la Première Ministre.
Well, that's a little bit of a history. But is gendered language in France an issue? Because here, obviously, there's a movement for degendering language, acteur, not actress for women, and indeed being open to neutral pronouns, they, them, not she, her, he, him. It is much more complicated in such a gendered language in France. Astrid de Villaine is politics editor-in-chief of the Huffington Post in France. Astrid, thanks for joining us. So, was it much noted in France that she was la Première Ministre, not le Premier Ministre?
Yes, of course, because you said it's new for us, because the last Prime Minister as a woman was 30 years ago, so it's a long time ago. And yes, we have seen like papers in some media who said, shall we say le or la Première Ministre? And it was a kind of little debate. But Jean Castex and many politicians here said la Première Ministre, like naturally, so I think it will be like that.
And what are you, la journaliste? Une journaliste, Astrid?
Yes, exactly. Your French is very good. We said la journaliste, and le journaliste is very gendered here. And yeah, it's a debate because, for instance, the neutral pronoun is not accepted here.
Nobody in France at this point will put pronouns saying, I prefer my pronouns to be these, because this has become obviously quite a big trend in UK and US.
No, it doesn't exist here. And many former correspondents in the US said when they are back in France, it's very sexist here to steal, but no, we don't say that.
but I mean, is there any debate about trying to degender the language? I mean, does a table need to be one thing and a car be another thing? I mean, is there anybody who says, can we modernize French and just make it, all neutral?
We have many debates because, like, for instance, the feminist movement wants to change things because we have a a grammatical rule here, which said that the masculine form takes precedence over the feminine one. And to this feminist movement, it's not okay to say that for the little girls, you know. So many people try to change, but we have like conservative forces who don't want. For instance, at the French Parliament, like 6 years ago, a French conservative MP didn't want to say Madame la Ministre to a female minister. He said Monsieur le Ministre as a sir, and the minister protested, and at the end he had a kind of bill to pay to the French Parliament, but it was a big debate at that time. So you see, to speak now about the neutral pronoun, it's on the debate, but it's very
you're in the foothills
sometimes, and it's not so important.
All right, Astrid, great to talk to you. Astrid de Villaine from Huffington Post in France. A new Radio 4 series is going to explore the cultural phenomenon of the century, reality TV. It's called Unreal, A Critical History of Reality TV. 10 parts, written and presented by the journalists Pandora Sykes and Shirin Kale. These days, it's almost hard to remember television without reality television. So many everyday folk have become showbiz stars that way. But sometimes having to put up with a lot of unpleasantness along the way. I spoke to Shirin Kale and first Pandora Sykes, who took me back to where the phenomenon started, Big Brother.
Big Brother was sort of launched as a social experiment wrapped up in a game show in 2000, and that's when you had commissioners and producers all over the UK sitting up, taking notice and thinking, we need to get in on this.
Yeah, I sort of wonder, Shirin, whether we'd run out of real celebrities, so that the television industry thought, let's make some. We can increase the supply of this. We've got a lot more TV than there used to be. We can make our own. And that was a kind of part of the, if you like, the economic motivation for this.
I think absolutely there's a very clear economic motivation and rationale for making reality TV, and most of the time, although not always, reality TV is considerably cheaper to make than, for example, a big glossy drama. And I think that is what partly fueled that real gold rush that we saw of reality TV formats in the 2000s. That said, I think it's really interesting, and a really common criticism of reality TV since pretty much the dawn of the format is, you're making ordinary quote-unquote people celebrities, and what have they done to deserve this fame and this adulation? They're not famous for being anything, and that's a really common criticism we've heard levelled throughout reality TV with figures from Jade Biddy to Kim Kardashian. And actually, one thing that we learned through making this podcast, Unreal, is that it's really hard to be a really good reality TV star. You've got to be authentic, you've got to be vulnerable, you've got to be likeable, you've got to be funny, and you've got to give a lot of trust over to those producers and hope that they're not going to stitch you up, which sometimes, unfortunately, they do.
Let's take one I don't think most British viewers know, The Swan, an American series that did invite people to better themselves through surgery. Let's hear a piece.
What is going through that very pretty head of yours right now, Christy? Please miss me.
Well, I'm afraid that here in the Radio 4 Longwave House, it's time to leave Evan and PM because it's time for the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1725 on Tuesday, the 17th of May.